Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs vetoing numerous bills attempting to reform that state's management of the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Last year, the U.S. Congress passed H.R. 1, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which made changes to SNAP to help root out fraud, waste, and abuse. H.R. 1 said if states do not reduce their SNAP payment error rate to under 6% by fiscal year 2028, their SNAP programs will enter a cost-sharing agreement with the federal government. If Arizona's SNAP payment error rate exceeds 6%, the state may have to pay between $150 million and $200 million of state taxpayer funds from Arizona's general fund in fiscal year 2028. The bills that Hobbs vetoed were Senate Bills 1002, 1331, and 1334. Senate Bill 1002 would have given the Arizona Department of Economic Security additional tools to check someone's SNAP eligibility. SB 1331 would have mandated a work requirement for people 60 years or younger to receive SNAP benefits. SB 1334 would have prevented DES from seeking SNAP work requirement waivers for able-bodied people without dependents. In addition to those bills, Hobbs vetoed House Bill 2206, which would have required Arizona to reduce its SNAP payment error rate to below 3% by 2030. Now, SNAP error rates across the country vary, some as low as 3%, others as high as 30%. It just depends on which state, and that cost to local taxpayers could be insurmountable for some cash-strapped states. Meanwhile, a Michigan House Oversight Committee report is warning that weaknesses in the state's food assistance system could end up costing taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars there in federal penalties unless reforms are implemented. Michigan House Oversight Subcommittee on State and Local Assistance Programs discussed about 1 in 7 Michigan residents receive food assistance, and the state spent more than $3.2 billion of taxpayer funds on that program in fiscal year 2024. That report also noted that MyBridges is an application portal. It cost taxpayers more than $16.8 million to develop. Now, while state investigators prevented more than $300 million in attempted fraud in fiscal year 24, that report said more needs to be done to prevent fraud, namely adding more security features such as chip-enabled cards. Michigan's error rates averaged above 10% under Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration, according to that report, and the rate must fall below 6% to avoid those local taxpayer penalties to be paid to the federal government for that state's SNAP program. Georgia lawmakers, they're trying to avoid paying millions of dollars in benefits for that SNAP program. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed by Congress last year requiring states to pay for part of the program, commonly known as food stamps, if their error rates are not below 6%. Georgia's error rate at 15.65%, and that's the third highest in the country, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The state could be forced to pay between $162 million and nearly $500 million a year, according to analysis by the Georgia Budget and Policy Institute. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp's 2027 fiscal year budget includes $18.2 million to help the Department of Family and Children's Services reduce that payment error rate. House Bill 947, known as the Georgia SNAP Integrity Act, it would implement processes that would strengthen the application process and eligibility verification to help with the efforts to reduce that rate. In Minnesota, their top financial officer says uncertainty in federal funding and the economic ripples are going to affect the state, all from Operation Metro Surge. You've got the state auditor telling the Center Square there in an exclusive interview the federal policy changes and the recent surge of immigration enforcement agents in the state could create financial challenges for cities. The report showed total government fund revenues for Minnesota reached $7.9 billion, 13.9% increase from 2022. And you've got that auditor warning that stability in local budgets could threaten the local impact of even certain types of subsidy programs if federal funding becomes less predictable. A group of Wisconsin lawmakers looking to ensure the state shares information about the SNAP program with the federal government. It's one thing the Trump administration is pushing for, is to have states provide them information about who is getting those federal taxpayer subsidies. The bill comes as Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul has joined 21 other attorneys general from across the country suing the federal government to avoid the information sharing. That SNAP bill passed in Assembly in that state, Wisconsin, 54-39, and will have a public hearing in a Senate committee very soon. The largest issue in the bill becoming law, as Governor Tony Evers said, he is against sharing Wisconsin's SNAP data with the federal government. The governor there has requested that lawmakers send $70 million to the Department of Health and Human Services to administer food share. That's the state's SNAP program. He said the funding is necessary to keep the state's program under that 6% error rate. Right now, Wisconsin's SNAP error rate is at 4.41%. In Illinois, SNAP is expanding its offerings to include new foods, additional package sizes, and food quantity adjustments to align with nutrition science and dietary needs. On average, more than 175,000 Illinois residents receive women, infant, children benefits each month. Illinois' SNAP error rate is over 11%. Now, all of this, of course, costing the federal taxpayer. Just how much? $102 billion in fiscal year 2025. It's about 1.4% of overall federal spending. And the average amount per participant per month, about $188. Now, beginning in 2028, states have to cover 15% of overall SNAP costs, which will increase the state taxpayer cost across the country. Now, will there be changes to SNAP? You had the Farm Bill that's working its way through Congress, Democratic amendments rolling back the cost-cutting reforms for SNAP. Those are looking to fail. Stakeholders held mixed reactions to the bill that's moving through Congress. Some sided with Democrats condemning the bill for its lack of SNAP support. In a Thursday statement, the Food Research and Action Center said the bill blatantly ignores the robust impact of SNAP in supporting families, farmers, food retailers, and America's overall economy. There's going to be much more to say about the ongoing SNAP debate across the country and its impact on you, the taxpayer.